Hello everyone, welcome to Uncle Iroh's Tea Shop. In my quest to read all the novelizations of the Avatar franchise, I got a chance to read my next comic for the first time, and this one is called North and South. It is a sequel story taking place after all the other comics in this timeline, following a story that is centered in the Southern Water Tribe. The comic story is a little smaller than the others to a degree. It gives some more interesting lore expansion to the world like the other comics, but most importantly, some very interesting themes and conversations that are the big reason why I think this comic reveals a sad truth of real life. A story that delves into the ideals of the Southern and Northern Water Tribes that seemingly is a common theme amongst all nations after the 100-year war ended. Sit back, relax, and enjoy some jasmine tea as we run through this comic analysis video. After she dreams of their late mother Kaya, Katara and Sokka return to their home village in the Southern Water Tribe, discovering that it has been transformed into a bustling and thriving city reminiscent of the Northern Water Tribe, and that their father, Hakoda, has been elected leader of the entire South. Along with that are some conflicts that are brewing within the population of the city, as many people are not happy with the idea of foreigner Northern Water Tribe people coming in to change what the Southern Tribe is about. And right there is the main point for why we are talking about this comic being a sad reality and a sad truth of real life. For one, let me just start off by saying that the theme of change has most definitely been the heaviest theme throughout all the comics that I've read so far within this series and timeline of certain events that take place after the war has ended. The Promise deals with the story of two different nations having a feud with each other because they believe things must change back to the way where all nations are their own and not together. The Search is when Zuko looks for his mom, Ursa, who doesn't want to change back to her original self because she had a face change to make herself look like someone else so that way she could forget her life in the Fire Nation under Ozai. The Rift is about Aang holding on to traditions and wanting to bring them back, while Toph believes that times must change and traditions are not always going to be there. Smoke and Shadow follows a conflict in the Fire Nation as citizens of that nation are not happy with the change of leadership, with Zuko now being the new Fire Lord. And here now, with North and South, it is about the Southern Water Tribe believing that the other half of their nation, with the North, should not be allowed to interfere with their ways and change it for the better progression into the future. It includes another revolution group that likens Smoke and Shadow, led by a man named Gilak, who was one of Hakoda's men that he fought with in the war. They both fundamentally disagree with each other about how the Southern Tribe should be handled for the future, and that puts them at odds with each other, a conflict that extends out so much that it involved all the leaders of each nation in attendance at one point near the end when Gilak makes an effort to stop what Hakoda is doing. And this leads to talking about that theme of change, because as I just laid out with showcasing the truth of the comic in that no one wants something new to come about from change, we have to discuss why people believe that way and how it is somewhat of a reality even in real life. Opposition to change can stem from a variety of factors, and when combined with feelings of fear or perceived threat, it can lead to aggressive or hostile reactions, as we see with what Gilak carries out in the story. In fairness to Gilak, he was right about the fact that the North did come in to take the oil from underneath the ground of the Southern Tribe to benefit them. The character of Malik is responsible for that belief, and that he thinks what the North brings is so much more than what the Southern Tribe can offer. His sister, Malina, who I should add is in love with Hakoda, was on board with him at one point, until she fell in love with Hakoda and she changed her way of thinking. Instead of taking from the Southern Tribe, she adopted the belief that she must help it. Gilak, even regardless of that, still opposed their being in the Southern Tribe and would violently take them out if he was compelled to do so. And again, all this comes from the idea that many in the Southern Tribe just don't want to see change come about. Even this idea that they don't believe foreigners of any nation, even if it was their own, should come in and change things is very apparent. In some ways, without getting too real with you all, it's kind of like how we are seeing certain things go on here in the US right now from a governmental level. This idea that foreigners are coming in to make things worse or are only coming in to benefit their own, I think it's a very misunderstood way of looking at things that doesn't help anybody, especially if you force yourself to act upon them in a hostile way like how Gilak went about it against Hakoda. He even at one point stabbed Hakoda, which I'll admit I was not expecting to see something like that here in this comic, but they went there and they did that. Gilak was right to point out that it was true the North was coming in to take the oil, but him going about it in a violent way makes him look worse for having that belief. Him and most other people are trying to defend what they believe because of cultural reasons. Even Katara at points is on the side of not wanting anything to change, while Sokka is sort of on board with the progression of it with the help of the North. If a person's sense of self is closely tied to a particular way of life, they may see change as an existential threat, which can provoke a hostile reaction. This is especially true in the situations where their group or community feels that its way of life is being undermined. I think in this story, for someone like Katara especially, it's made clear in the comic that some of this tie to her beliefs is around her mother Kaya. Times are changing and things are much different now, and I think while in spirit Katara makes great points, it is also best of her to look inward for what's best. I think it would have been really cool to, at one point in this comic, have had a moment where Katara, Sokka, and Hakoda have a sit down with each other to discuss what the future could mean for them. Katara and Sokka were vital parts in helping to end the 100-year war, and I think the idea of what both of them mean to the future of the world, but even just their southern tribe, should have been established. Someone like Hakoda is not going to be there forever for them, and I think that could have been a very good scene to have with them if it were discussed instead of just speaking about the current situation they were facing. It's a good way to help world build in a way that progresses the stories that we get from these comics to tell of what happened in between Avatar: The Last Airbender and then a story like The Legend of Korra. There's about 70 years in between both, and in some capacity, I would kind of like some of these comics to help bridge that, but I digress. The important thing to take away from this comic, just like with a few others that cover this, is that change is inevitable, but you have to fight and cooperate with it for the right reasons and not the wrong ones. People often resist change because it threatens their sense of stability and security. When the fear of losing what they know outweighs the perceived benefits of change, it can lead them down a darker path than where they should be going. The 100-year war ravaged and destroyed so much of what the world knew from when before it started, and it put them all in a headspace of not knowing what change was like for so long because they were going through the same thing year after year after year. When an event like that is around for that long, you see and understand how it can cloud people's judgment, but also their fear will come because they don't know anything more than that. All they knew was war. Lots of people don't know what progression and change is like because they never lived it or think it is not of their beliefs. But I think what this comic outlines is that even with your beliefs in mind, change is gonna happen regardless. It's all on you to make sure that it goes about the right way, even if you are not always going to agree with it. Even now, in real life, we as a society are slowly but surely getting out of that 3 or so year stint of a pandemic that changed so much of how we went about life and also within our beliefs. I feel like I can almost equate something like that to a story like this here in this comic. I think it's just a sad truth and a sad reality that this comic helps to paint, that I was able to find when reading it through. But with that being said, that is where I'm going to end my analysis of this comic. This is also the last comic that will be authored by Jean Luen Yang, and the art style is also changing with the next comic that is after this called Imbalance. So I'll be curious to see how much gets changed after North and South from what I've read already, so stay tuned for when that comes in the future. As we end off this video, please comment down below your thoughts on this video and my commentary of this comic. If you've read it before already, do let me know what you thought about it. And if you did enjoy the video and want to see more like it, be sure to give it a like, and if you are new to this channel, subscribe and turn on that notification bell. Thank you all for stopping by Uncle Iroh's Tea Shop. I hope everyone here has a wonderful rest of the day, and I will see you all soon for more Avatar.